Hey, Chicago, what do you say? It's the CHGO Cubs post-game show podcast. It's time to fly the W. The Cubs win 4-3 down in Tampa thanks to Cody Bellinger and never nervous Nearest. Heart attack Hector gets it done, closes down the game. It was never in doubt. Welcome to the show. Luke Stuckmeyer, Ryan Herrera, Corey Friedman, Cody Delmendo, and Mr. Kevin Wells running the ones and twos tonight. I'm expecting the live YouTube chat to be happier tonight, but certainly not satisfied. We'll see how that goes. Make sure you subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube page. We've got a lot of events we're going to tell you about coming up later in the podcast. We've got a 120 game coming up on Friday for the Friday 120 Club. We've got the road trip coming up. We've got a watch-along coming up. All kinds of stuff. So make sure you stick around for that, and make sure you hit the like button on the way in. So how good did you feel? Did anybody – we were wagering, not really wagering, but wagering.
I wagered.
Whether or not they were actually going to hold on and win the game after the Bellinger home run. And I thought about placing a wager on Circa, but I never got around to it. I was going to take the Rays. I thought they were going to blow it again.
It felt like a movie we've seen before. I think the hope is, and that whole Cincinnati series and half the rest of the season. But, look, at some point you play a lot of one-run games. We knew that was going to happen. You got to find ways to win some of them. And they've been sub-500 at it so far, but this was one, they gutted it out. I know, I can see it in the YouTube chat already. There's going to be a mix of people who feel – hey, they won, let's enjoy the win, fly the W, and there's going to be a mix of people that are like, they survived that game barely, and I'm still kind of mad.
Both are true.
Whatever. I don't know. I'm glad they won a game. I was nervous about that. We were debating who should come in to close. 2 runners on. You felt like you had the tying run at third. You had the winning run at second at the end of that game. I'm just glad they won the game.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we said after the White Sox series, right? Like, the concerns don't go away because the concerns don't go away because they won a game. Like, you definitely still have to, like, consider those, think about those, like, keep those in mind that, like, what's concerned you didn't disappear because they won that game, especially in a game like today where they very nearly did blow it again, right? So those concerns don't go away, but, yeah, I think it's, like, breathe a sigh of relief. They won a game. They managed to hang on. They didn't blow a lead again. They scored enough runs to win a game and enjoy it for the night. And then, the next day it gets to like, okay, the team has to build on that and start, getting past the concerning trends that have appeared for the last 5-6 weeks, whatever it's been.
Yeah, sorry, I was live betting the NBA Finals game.
On Circa.
Yeah.
On Circa, yes. If you follow me on Twitter, you'd notice that tonight for the win, instead of tweeting the video I've been tweeting after every win where me and Braggs are in the bleachers absolutely inebriated celebrating during a Cubs-Dodgers game in April, tonight I tweeted a video from the Cubs-Sox series of me hugging our good pal Patrick Norton, and then after I'm done hugging him, I turn to the camera or to the people who were at our takeover last week saying, I can't believe we fucking won. Let's go. And then I clap my hands. That's kind of how I feel. I think that's going to be the video for the foreseeable future until this team starts to show some consistency on the winning side. I'm choosing, because I'm a delusional optimist, I'm choosing to have some belief or hope that they can win the series tomorrow. I'd rather be in this position than not be in this position. I don't want to come on post game and be negative all the time. I think everyone I think most people who've been listening to our show for the last 2.5 years probably believe that I'd rather talk about a team that's winning than not. Obviously, the situation in the ninth inning is still a massive problem. And, like, to Ryan's point when we were on the couch, like, he even said, like, he said something along the lines of, like, who else do you put in there? And, like, I kind of agree, but I'm also like, we've seen this movie so many times that I'm willing to see something else. I don't know what it is, but this goes back to what I've said in recent shows where it's like insanity. We just do the same thing over and over. And, like, I think it's okay to want to mix things up or see something else happen, because Hector Neris, in my opinion, has gotten too much slander, and it's largely not even his fault because he's being used in a role that he's never been used in. And so you can also say that about everyone else that's in the bullpen for this team, but that's not their fault. That's the front office's fault. Also, the fact that ALLCITY has given you nothing and is hurt.
You can get his bobblehead, though.
Yeah, can't wait. We should get it and put it on our set for every show after we get it.
What if it had like the little thing on the back where you can like press the button and he just like does the people's fist?
Yeah,
like every time. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
like a McDonald's toy.
Yeah,
it could be our own little show bit, right?
Yeah.
Rock'em
Sock'em Robot.
That's all I got though for like that situation. Like, we know it's a problem. We've seen the movie too many times with Neris that I'm willing to at least see it with someone else, because maybe it's different with someone else. Maybe if you get a guy in there that has more high velocity. Like, I know Luke Little really struggles with command, but he has great stuff and he gets a lot of swing and miss. He's someone that I've been high on since the beginning of the year, but I know that he will walk guys, and I know that he will probably get a little wild, and he's a young pitcher, so it's hard for me to have any belief in that actually working out right now. It was something that I was hoping they could develop him into as the season went along. Is it too early to try that? Well, at least they've used him high leverage situations before, and he has had some success in it. He's also had some not good success in it. He's just one example. Like, I don't know who it should be. All I know is that Neris coming in, like, there's a reason that when we talk about Christopher Morel being the unluckiest hitter in baseball, there's also the other side of it of Hector Neris has been the luckiest pitcher in baseball.
Well, that all caught up with him real quick. I mean, his FIP is north of 5, so that all caught up with him real quick.
I think he would be better. I think those numbers would come to what we're accustomed to seeing from him when he was with the Astros. I think that those would go back to what we would expect if he was used in his role, because how many times have we seen him go out there in a tie game and be okay? Or how many times have we seen him, before he was the closer, go out there and be fine? Like, what I'm saying isn't solving answers. It's more of just like, my hands are up, and this just is a problem that it's like the Cubs are ignoring it, and they're just trying to kind of shift their way through it and like think that something else is going to happen, when clearly when Neris is out there, he's not comfortable. The one thing that came from that ninth inning that we keep pounding home on is that you have to score runs, and whenever you have a multi-run lead in the ninth inning, you can give up. You have a little bit of leeway. Thank God that he was able to get those last 2 outs, but he did enter the inning with a 2-run lead, and even though he gave up the homer, he didn't blow the save. That's the only good thing that comes out of that inning, that like we keep talking about how you can't be in all these one-run games, even though they ended up putting themselves into one anyway.
27 one-run games, way more than anybody else in the league. They are now 13-14 on the season.
Almost at 500.
13-14 on the season. Yeah. So as to that question, and we will get to the beer bat chug in a second, so you can make your votes. Is there somebody else on the current roster? So I don't want to hear about guys that would have to be traded for. We did that a little bit of that yesterday. Guys on the current roster that are healthy. Who else would you like to see in a closing situation if it's not Neris? For me, it's not Leiter, because Leiter's got to be used.
He's your fireman.
He's your fireman. He's your left-handed, left-handed pocket.
And I would
defense.
say, yes, and I would say, to me, I would try Ben Brown when he comes back. But he's not healthy right now, so it's not Ben Brown. So
surprised they didn't
Tyson
try it
Miller.
earlier.
Tyson
Yeah,
Miller,
you know,
huh?
Been good,
that might
man.
be the answer because I agree with you. That's what I was going to say. Like, Leiter is the more obvious answer, but you need him earlier, and he's the guy that puts out fires. And we also know he's someone that his effectiveness is definitely diminished when he pitches back-to-back days or multiple days. So, like, is that the type of guy you want to earmark for being your closer? I don't know. I don't think that they have great options. That's kind of the situation they're in because then you look at some of these other guys, and even talking about someone like Ben Brown, if Wicks is healthy and you can kind of figure that out with the role that Hayden Wisniewski has, but those roles are also important. You saw that tonight. You ended up having Drew Smyly go multiple innings, but you need those guys like Wisniewski and Ben Brown because you got an awful lot of starters that don't go deep into games. And you also have seen so many injuries. You're going to need these guys to make spot starts, et cetera. So do you want to turn Ben Brown into someone who's only pitching an inning at a time? I like the stuff, and I think he might be the best option for that of the group that potentially might be healthy, but does that kind of take away from his usefulness in other areas? I don't know. It's a tough spot. Like, it's not an easy thing to just crank out some closer, but I think to Cody's point, it is clear. I'm glad he got it done tonight, but you can't keep running out a guy that has a FIP north of 5 as your closer. When he had given up the hit and the homer, I turned to you guys when we were watching the game in the studio and said, well, now hold on. They're going to get at least one more base runner because he walks a minimum of a guy per game. And then he did. You can't have that. It's way too much contact, way too much hard contact, and he walks multiple people. So I don't know. I give Craig credit for doing it again tonight. You guys were saying that it was him. I was like, that's crazy. No way. And
I think that's what they're going to keep doing as long as he's got enough rest to be the closer. I think for now, Brendan is in the chat saying they've got to go make that trade fast. And the Ben Brown thing, the other benefit, if and when he comes back and is healthy, is that you're probably going to have to limit his innings at some point. It would be one way to go ahead and do that, potentially.
Yeah, I mean,
I kind of like
everyone. I was going to say everyone does the Mason Miller stuff about the Cubs trading for him, and even though I don't think that's really realistic. Part of the reason he is the eighth closer is to limit his innings, to keep him healthy, that kind of stuff. So like,
it would be a bigger trade than just trade.
But what I'm saying is,
think of
like,
him as a different thing.
Yeah. What I'm saying is compared to Ben Brown, like if you're looking to limit his innings, could you limit his innings and also use him effectively in a ninth inning role? It could be worth taking a shot because he has the kind of stuff that we've seen play really well.
If you can have, I would just add, if you can have Wisniewski in that kind of swingman role, if Drew Smyly pitches like he did tonight, then I think you're covered for those kind of 2-3 inning outings when you need to cover a start and just bridge those gaps on nights where, Mark Leiter Jr. is down and other guys in your bullpen are down. That's just the only kind of caveat with it not obviously being Ben Brown. I think at this point, if Wicks goes back into the rotation, is just that versatility from some of those guys has been important to this team. And you saw it, with Assad, especially going 4 or 5 innings at times. You need those guys.
Yeah. I mean, I don't hate the idea of even Wisniewski getting an opportunity since that sweeper does get so much, so many whiffs. Godfather, he's screaming to make Assad the closer, which I don't hate either. But right now with Brown being out, you kind of need Assad in the rotation. Like, this goes back to what I said months ago. Well, I guess more like a month and a half ago, where I said that they needed to get Hendricks right. That way they could use Assad in more than just a starting role. Hasn't necessarily worked out. So like,
not quite.
Like I don't even know why. Like, Hendricks, I don't want to get into this whole Hendricks conversation again, but this, the Cubs aren't using him, and when they do use him, things aren't going well. So I don't know what's going on with that. It's almost like the reverse situation with the pitching staff when we're talking about injuries and stuff with Nico and like the last couple days. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate seeing if once the pitching staff is healthy and you can find a way to maybe go get Wisniewski some starts and put Assad in the bullpen. I don't know, but like I just don't see how they can make Assad or put Assad in the bullpen right now with the fact that they like with Brown on the injury list and Hendricks being basically nothing. So like that, I just don't see that happening. So like Wesneski in this current space, like I wouldn't mind seeing Wesneski get a shot there just because he's gotten a lot of whiffs too.
Cody's going to tell us about Prize Picks in a second here. Then after that, the much-awaited Blue Moon Beer Bat Chug from Cody Delmendo will be coming. So get your picks and bets in now for how long you think this is going to be. Because remember, 10.25 is what we call a quality chug. But frankly, it's been a while, and they've been a little spread out a little more recently. So the numbers weren't as good the last couple times, if I remember correctly.
Well, these wins are very tight. So Cody, is not as relaxed. He's not as happy. They're gutting these wins out. It's not good for the beer chug.
I did legitimately spend most of the game yelling. So,
but you won a lot of wagers too.
I did. Thanks.
Prize Picks
shout out to Prize Picks because I had hits for Morel, Bellinger, and Seiya tonight, and I believe all of them hit. So I won some money on Prize Picks.
Daily fantasy.
Daily fantasy. All right. It's America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It is the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You pick more or less on 2 or more player stats for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. With Prize Picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. They have really great promotions. They have you covered every week from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays, which increase your chances of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. So I know recently, especially with the WNBA starting, they had like Caitlin Clark to just score a point. In the NBA, they've had certain guys that just score a point I've seen recently. And the cool thing about it is, like, if you watch the Cubs game and you're also watching the NBA game or the NBA Finals tonight, you could have done maybe, like I did, Bellinger and Morel to get hits, and then maybe Doncic over on rebounds and Kyrie under on points, something like that. Gives you a reason to watch both games. I have 2 TVs up. That's something I really like to do at home. That's the most unsurprising thing ever, honestly. So, download the app today. You can be like me, watch both games on your TV, and ride the wave with Prize Picks. All you gotta do is use code CHGO for your first deposit matchup to $100. That's code CHGO for your first deposit matchup to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
You know what else is easy? Blue Moon. Easy to love Blue Moon.
Smooth.
Some beers can say they're brewed for baseball, but only Blue Moon is brewed by baseball. Beer and baseball just go together, and no beer goes better than the one that was literally born in a ballpark. Blue Moon was created at Coors Field in Denver, Colorado. It's the natural choice for opening day and all season long. The weather right now is classic summertime shy, so go ahead and give me a Blue Moon. Nothing beats watching baseball or lounging by the pool with an ice-cold Blue Moon. Blue Moon was brewed by baseball to give you a dose of nostalgia and get you excited for the new season. A beer this good only comes around once in a Blue Moon, but you can enjoy it all season long. Bring the ballpark to you with Blue Moon Belgian-style wheat ale. It's one of a kind every time. Get Blue Moon delivered by visiting get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO to see your delivery options. That's get.bluemoonbeer.com/CHGO. Blue Moon, made brighter. Celebrate responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And Blue Moon's not just good for lounging by the pool. It's good for beer bat chugs.
Speaking of, it's time for Cody Delmendo's Blue Moon Beer Bat Chug. Here goes Delmendo. Quality chug.
That's so awesome.
I've never seen that before.
Shout out to Joey.
Joey Spathis.
Shout out Joey.
And unfortunately, we just have not been able to use that enough, all right? So, Godfather, I saw your comment in there saying doing a beer bat for this team is embarrassing. Legitimately, the only reason we're doing the beer bat is because I like that little video that Joey made for us, all right?
And because
Blue Moon is one of
Blue
them.
Moon, yeah.
And I love beer, too, okay? I had to drink a beer to get through this game tonight, to be honest with you. So,
Now you're going to drink another one.
Tonight's beer bat, I think I got to give it to Cody Bellinger, not only because his name is Cody, but because he did what we've been talking about for, it feels like forever, about how this team doesn't have slug, about how they're not getting the big hit when they need it. He hit the 3-run homer, that inning the Cubs put together, did it all with 2 outs, I believe.
They did.
Morel came up, got the hit, then they hit Wisdom, and then Bellinger hits the homer. It's just nice to see this offense do some stuff with multiple outs in the inning, you know what I mean? And to hit the ball over the fence, because I don't know how many times I got to watch this team hit the ball to the warning track, all right? So, credit to Belly. Showed up and played like the player he's supposed to play like. So, all the credit to him. We ready?
Here it goes. The official timer's on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube. And it's underway. Cody Del Mendo is a little rusty here, but he's got a nice Blue Moon beer bat chug going. He's down to the handle already. He's down to the pine tar, and he is done.
10.6.
10.6. I'd say that's close enough to 10.25.
I was really looking for that quality
Official judge, Kevin? Quality.
We're giving him quality chug on that
quality
one.
Chug.
Credit to you.
Lowering the bar.
Quality chug.
Lowering the bar.
We're lowering the bar like we've lowered our bar on the Cubs.
We're lowering the bar for quality starts, quality wins, and now quality chugs.
That's the perfect experiment of rest versus rust. Because
that's right. That was good.
A lot of rest in between beer bat chugs, obviously.
You know who wasn't rusty tonight, though? And this isn't trying to be a transition, but Tyson Miller, who didn't pitch for a week, and then he comes out there and shoves it. I'm also why didn't he pitch for a week, too? But,
Well, I wanted to – you dedicated the beer bat to him, but I wanted to keep talking about Cody Bellinger. They needed that bad.
Yeah.
Somebody to come through with a big hit.
Desperately.
And it's you want them to have games where they string together hits, they score a bunch of runs, they put up crooked numbers. But, one, we know this team isn't, super well equipped for that. But even in a scenario where you have an offense like that, you have to have those games where you just have one big inning, bloop and a blast, somebody just comes up and gets a big hit. They have desperately needed it, and frankly, it needed to be Cody Bellinger. At some point, he's got a slug. His numbers are pretty good on the season, but they're not quite where they were last year. But, they need that slug. They need that power. And occasionally, you need to just dig your way out of a loss by hitting a big homer. And that's what they did tonight. They needed that bad. So that was really good to see.
Yeah, he's not a traditional thumper, right? But he is. That's the reason they signed him. That's the biggest reason they signed him right there. Not because he can play center, not because he can play first, because he's a left-handed bat that can give you power with all of those other things. And they do need it. And you know what? They needed Seiya to hit one too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's part of it is obviously Seiya, what he showed you the last 2 months of last year, and even the first few weeks of this year before he got hurt, was he can have stretches where he carries the offense. Bellinger last year, too, for most of that season, had some stretches where he was the one carrying the offense. And, the hope is you could obviously get both of those guys hot at the right time, at the same time, and they can, when the offense is slumping the way it is, or it's in a funk the way it is, especially with runners in scoring position, those two guys should be the guys that are helping you get runs on the board. And, for Bellinger, hitting that when there was, second and third, I think, two runners in scoring position. Earlier in the game, he had an opportunity with runners in scoring position, didn't come through. So to hit that one was a little bit of it was probably a sigh of relief for everyone, but for him to get another opportunity to come through in that situation and then to do it, and then obviously you mentioned Seiya, the home run early in the game, straight center. Those are the two guys the Cubs are just look where they are in the batting order, right? Those are the two main guys the Cubs are we need these two guys to kind of be our anchors on offense, but even at times carry the offense. Yeah. And those two guys did enough today to put the Cubs in a position to win.
And Seiya, now, if you're looking just at WRC plus 128, which is better than what he was last year. If you look at where outfielders with at least 100 plate appearances are, I'd put him in the top 20. So he's had some struggles. He's been hurt, but right now, the offensive production pretty good from Seiya Suzuki. Is it good enough, to be the middle of the order bat like the Cubs kind of rely on him to be? not quite. It's certainly not at that like star level, but he continues to put together really solid offensive production.
So here's a question about the offense in general. The beginning of the season, it looked like it was going to work. We had the questions of the offseason saying, did they add enough bats? Is bringing Bellinger back enough? Is adding Bush enough? And I think generally the answer for most people was, no, they didn't do enough. And the offense is going to, right?
It was like they didn't do enough to avoid or to have the margin for error of like guys
they didn't
not
get
playing.
rid of the uncertainty.
You were just bringing Bellinger was a good signing on the 24th as I predicted, but it was just that you were just bringing him back, right? It wasn't a new guy. So the only new guy is Bush.
Mm-hmm. And that's been good.
He's been a lot better recently too.
But my point is the offense was very good early on to the point where I remember sitting on the show going, I stand corrected. They might have enough offense. Of course, Bush hit like 6 homers in 6 games, and it was a little slightly different. Do you think it will ever get back to that level again this season? Or was that going to be the high point of the season for the offense?
I think Levi TV in the YouTube chat, which I believe he has the picture of Nico with his tongue out as his YouTube avatar. I can't really see that far. That's why I have glasses.
Looks like Nico,
specifically with his tongue out, though.
Yeah.
He said they have enough of people play to the back of their baseball cards. They were never, even if they do, they're not going to be that like juggernaut offense. But that was part of what was frustrating about this stretch. And when we would say things like they're better than this, and some folks would say, I don't know if they are, I don't think they are. They've been dreadful, like for a good stretch of time.
Horrible.
I genuinely do not believe they are that bad. Dansby has put up some better numbers. He's still not where he needs to be, but he had a nice stretch that kind of lifted those numbers. Saya's numbers going up. Christopher Morel, Bellinger, et cetera. If those guys perform to what they are expected to be, enough is a relative term, but they are better than what we've been looking at.
But
these stretches.
Will they get to the level they were at the beginning of the season?
I also think,
was that an outlier too?
Well, I also think there was a point where, and I don't remember the numbers, but like where we talk about what this team's been with runners in scoring position for a while, like bad, like the worst in Major League Baseball type bad. Like the first month-ish of the season, they were like playing out of their minds with runners in scoring position. Like I don't remember if they were top of the league, but they were right up there with some of the best teams. So I think it's something we've said before. Like they're probably somewhere more in the middle of that. They may not get back to that level, but they're not as an offense overall as bad. They shouldn't be as bad as what they've been for weeks on end now. Like they're somewhere more in the middle, and that's why you play 162 games because things tend to even out like that.
I would also be remiss if
when it's just in the middle of that.
Add on to it and say that's part of what the frustration was, is that the way it was built, those periods of inconsistency were a risk you were taking because you didn't build an offense that was kind of centered around bona fide stars and sure things. There's a lot of
you for a while,
unproven guys, and even though we've seen some really good things, like the results you're seeing from Christopher Morel, they're coming on the field, but the under the hood stuff has been excellent. Michael Bush has been the best hitter on the team. Maybe Saya passed him tonight with the homer, but like Saya looks really good again on offense. So there's really good developments, but that's what the frustration was you were relying on a lot, and you're relying on a lot to go well, and you're not really giving a lot of these guys room to have those adjustment periods and periods where they struggle because you're relying on them as your 4 or 5 hitters in some of these games. So that's what the frustration was. Is it enough? I don't know, but they're better than the garbage we saw for like a month. I do also, on Bellinger, before I let you go, Cody, I do want to shout out our guy Bleacher Ben on Twitter, who tweeted a photo of our Belly Bomb shirt.
Nice.
I'm looking. The timestamp says
CHGO.com.
4:13
CHGO Locker
Central Time, and he said we're getting one tonight. And we
All
did.
right.
A belly button. There you go.
Bleacher Ben, good call.
Yeah, you came. He was at Friday 120 Club. A handful of weeks back. I think he was at the game tonight too. So, shout out to Ben. He's been in our YouTube chat before. As far me on the offense, at least, I'll say something that we haven't really. I guess we kind of mentioned. You guys mentioned Bush, but I loved seeing Morel in the leadoff spot tonight with Bush hitting second, and what I tweeted before the game is still true. I will go down with the ship with Christopher Morel. I will undoubtedly go down with the ship because, like I said weeks ago, this guy is going to be a guy. He's going to get it. By the end of the year, the numbers will be where we want to see because, like you said, Corey, the under-the-hood numbers say that they will, and I know results matter at the end of the day, but you got a little bit of all of it tonight. First at bat, he hits one, hits a line drive. Of course, Siri catches the ball, and he didn't even need to dive for it. But again, line drive. Struck out in the second at bat, but either way, K rate is way down this year compared to past years.
10%.
Yeah. Would you say 10% less?
10%.
Wow.
Yeah, almost exactly 10%.
I was told that he strikes out like 3 or 4 times a game on social media today. Weird. And then third at bat, he gets hit by a pitch. Either way, gets on base. And then fourth at bat, gets a hit. And that hit led to them getting the 3-run homer from Bellinger. And listen,
and then he broke that last one too.
Oh yeah.
He's
the
been
last
hitting
at bat he hit,
hard.
the last ball he hit was 111 miles per hour. I'm not saying he's going to be some superstar. I'm not saying he's going to save the season. All I'm saying is that shut up about the batting average. Like, I just can't take it anymore. Like, if you're going to tell me that he's not good at baseball, give me a good reason to believe that he's not good at baseball. So, and batting average just doesn't tell the whole story. Kyle Schwarber hits 200 every single fucking year, but hits 40 home runs and gets is leading off for the Phillies every single day, and they are one of the best teams in baseball, okay? And Christopher Morel leads the team in homers, okay? I don't want to hear it, especially with this 12.5% K or 12.5% walk rate to go with that, all right? If you think he's not good, give me a good reason outside of batting average.
Did you look that up, or do you have that memorized?
What?
His walk rate.
I literally have it memorized because I'm
dead on.
You know how
I don't even know who he's mad at. Who's saying all these?
A lot of people.
Well, so there are.
Let me finish. You know how our good friend Michael Cerami loves Ian Happ. That is what I am becoming for Christopher Morel. I will go down with the ship with this guy. Okay.
Well, I don't think you're gonna have to go down with the ship. The ship's gonna sail on.
Well, if we get to a point, if we get to a point, all right, if we get to a point that things people are so out on him, I will still go down with the ship.
Well,
okay?
I
Captain
think,
Cody Bellinger.
I don't know if they're you do see it. I mean, I know I see it when Brendan and I are doing the show in our YouTube chat, and certainly on Twitter. Like, there are a lot of folks that don't care about the expected stats. They don't care about the exit velocity and those trends. They want to see results. But
just fair.
And I get that. I totally
but
get
for a 24-year-old to not be thrilled with the developments, I know you want to see results. Of course you do. They need to come, especially when he was hitting in your 4-hole. Like, I get that you need to see results. But he's 24. Right now he's dropped his K rate by 10%. Like, that is a Chris Bryant level drop down in K rate. That's the last player I remember, at least off the top of my head, from year to year going down by that significant a number. He's bumped his walk rate 4% from last year, and he just smacks the ball. Like that last plate appearance when he hit the ball to short. Like, sure, it's right in the shortstop hole, and it ends up being an easy ground out, but he's doing every single thing you want someone to do. And I said this when we were watching the game, more impressive than anything is that not the last couple weeks or so, last week, especially that Cincy series and now here in Tampa, it's really, you're starting to see the results, but it's so impressive that someone that young has stayed within his process and not gotten frustrated that the results aren't coming and started swinging out of his shoes more or going back to some of those old habits and tendencies. He is still taking his walks. He's not striking out as much, and he just smacks the ball. I'm like, sure, if he stays in this process and stays within himself and continues to believe, I promise you, the overall numbers on offense, the defense at third is a separate thing. The offensive numbers
all separate from
will
defense.
come, I promise, if he stays within this process that he's adopted.
I mean, well, for one, that's the reason why expected stats and all that stuff, the underlying numbers exist, so you can measure
it's to project. It's not about results.
Yeah, but it's like you're showing okay, these numbers should have been better based on the way this guy hit hit the ball. Based on all these different things, these numbers should be better. If he keeps doing that, the numbers will turn. Like that, yeah, it's a predictor. It's not a value or not a result thing. But I mean, just to your point, Morel, since the second game in Milwaukee, I feel like that's when we kind of saw a few of these guys start to turn things around or feel a little better. That was that extra inning, like scored 5 runs in the 10th or whatever it was. And since that day, this is going into today, Morel, 166 WRC plus, hitting 250 with a 404 weighted on base average, like 923 OPS, something like that.
That'll play.
16.4% walk rate, 23.6% strikeout rate. Just a really good hitter over a 2-week stretch.
Yeah.
And again, it's a 2-week stretch versus a month or so where the numbers were looking really bad. So it's something where we're like, this is why we kept saying, hey, these numbers are going to turn, the results are going to start falling. He's doing
24.
all the things
He's almost
right.
25.
He's doing the things right and just not getting rewarded for it. That's what we kept saying.
And the thing, as we know, like the whole Delmetrics bit, like, yes, the eye tests, I like to use eye tests over advanced stats and stuff a lot because that's just what I'm just grown to do over the course of my life. But even watching him do his at-bats this year, it's incredibly different than last year. Like, even if you just go by eye tests, you can see that this guy's an improved baseball player. I don't know how else to explain it to people without, like, screaming at them at this point. So, my next goal is to stop replying to people on CHGO Cubs who are slandering Christopher Morel. 2 straight days, I have struggled to not do that. Tomorrow, we'll try again. But the thing is, about him as well, you bring up the K rate and the walks. Like, I looked it up today. Through 66 games last year, he had 90 strikeouts. Before today's game, the Cubs had played 66 games. He has 60 strikeouts this year, so 30 less, and has already more walks this year than last season. So put that over the course of 162 games, we'll sit here in the offseason and be like, wow, that's an extreme improvement.
Yeah.
You know what else he's greatly improved on? Hitting his foot with a foul ball.
I don't know how he's still walking, man. I really don't.
Yeah.
I don't know how he's still walking.
I don't either. He didn't look very good running down to first base again. I saw Galvin in there said, hey, love Morel, but the Jays need him for Vlad Guerrero. See you later, Chris. And then Barb suggested that you tried to trade Morel, and I'll just let that lie.
Yeah.
Barb thinks I tried to trade everyone. That's not true.
On Morel, too. And, this kind of goes back to that whole...
all the good young players.
All the good young players.
It goes back to the whole conversation about, like, is the offense enough? Did they do enough? Blah, blah, blah. Like, I think part of why some folks, maybe don't want to hear the stuff on Morel and the kind of expected stuff and the 2-week samples and this, it's not Christopher Morel's fault that his development into a slugger kind of the success of the offense doesn't hinge on it, but as we've talked about, he was hitting in the cleanup hole. Like, I understand why some folks are not as quick to embrace all of that when it's like, yeah, but like this team needs results now. It's like, that's not Christopher Morel's fault. He's a young hitter who's being asked to very quickly turn into a middle of the order slugger and that's very hard to do. And he's showing all of the right stuff to get there, but that's where the frustration comes in not getting a bona fide stud, because it puts all that pressure on Morel, like, hey, this is all great, but we need those results now, like ASAP. Like, all this exit velocity is cool, but like, we need it now. That's not his fault. That's Jed Hoyer's fault. It's not Christopher Morel's fault. He's doing everything he possibly can to get better and to be a really good hitter.
He was doing all the things he needed to do right. It just wasn't getting rewarded for him.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, it's not like I'm saying he's a superstar. I'm not even saying that he's a star. All I know is that he's a better player than what people are giving us.
If you haven't bought the stock, we already have it.
Yeah.
But,
So you wouldn't include him in a trade for Luis Robert? No, that's another podcast. It's another podcast.
There we go.
Luke's trying to start fights, man.
Tell us about Sunnyside, Corey.
I would love to tell you about our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. They are here to elevate your summer. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have an excellent selection with over 100 different strains to choose from. easy online ordering and in-store pickup. I have always said about Sunnyside, if you are a veteran, you know what you're doing. It's a great experience. It's easy. You can be in and out in no time. And if you are new, you're looking to explore, learn about the products, they have a great staff that will help you out. They are knowledgeable. They are friendly. They love to answer questions, and they want to help you have the best experience you possibly can. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit. Of course, you can also shop at my favorite store, just steps on Clark Street from beautiful, historic Wrigley Field. Stop into the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff or select from quality lines like Cresco and Floracal. I am picking up Mindy Seagal's award-winning chocolates at Sunnyside, and you can too by heading to sunnyside.shop and use code HICHGO, that's HICHGO, at checkout for 35% off brands like Cresco, Good News, and more to elevate your first purchase. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 or older or Illinois MedCard holders.
Sunnyside, of course, you can go right by Wrigley Field. We got a lot of events coming up, starting with Cody and Braggs with the Friday 120 Club coming up this Friday against the Cardinals. We will have a live post-game show after that at Almost Home, which is next to or across the street from Obvious Shirts. Across the street from Obvious Shirts.
Kitty corner? Kitty corner?
Diagonally.
Diagonally, yeah, it's right there. Beforehand, you meet at Murphy's.
Yes.
We're all going to be there. We're all going to be a good time. Ryan will be in the press box.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like it's 80 and sunny, no clouds, Cubs, Cardinals. Get your ticket right now on Game Time and join us. You can meet us at Murphy's, or you can just meet us in the bleachers, and we're all going to sit together. But you got to make sure you get the shirt, right?
Oh, yeah.
We're trying to get a collection of people all wearing the Friday 120 Club shirt that's in the CHGO locker right now, so that on the broadcast, when someone hits a fly ball or home run, all you see is green shirts in left field. That's the goal by the end of the season. We're getting there.
We're getting there. I see more and more green shirts every Friday at home at Wrigley.
So that's the first event.
So I just wanted to point out that right now on the locker online it says that we're sold out, but we've been bringing shirts to our event. So if you want one and you live in the area, or if you just happen to be going to this game and you want to hang out with us before the game, before you sit wherever you sit, or whatever, if you're going to be in Chicago and you're going to come to and you want to come to the event, we always bring shirts. Sarah comes with us and she has shirts. Barb, I know that you love Sarah so much.
Riddles to get
That's right. It's a top 5 design at the CHGO locker right now. It's a hot look.
Yeah.
If you want the vibes for the summer, you got to have the hot shirt.
Yeah.
You got to have the sick drip.
If you can't get the Friday 120 Club shirt, you can get the new Shota shirt.
True.
Now, then next week,
online.
Next Wednesday, June 19th, Corey's going to be back, and Grillin' with Dad, you know him from YouTube, will be here in studio cooking up some recipes for us. I believe right out on the deck. We got the gas grill ready to fire up, the Weber grill, and we're going to have a watch-along. That is the 120 game against the Giants. So you got an afternoon, Wednesday, you want to see what's going on, you can just come right to our CHGO Sports YouTube page and watch the game along with Corey, Cody, I believe Braggs might be in on it. Peck might be in on it. Grilling with Dad.
I believe
you guys are going to eat large.
He has
that day.
really. I saw his video.
I'm too.
Grilling at spring training this year. Huge Cubs fan. So excited to meet him.
That's going to be sick.
Did they win the? Yeah, they did win the watch along that we did.
They did.
Yes.
I want to know when we watch it.
That was the big one.
Yeah, that's what I was asking basically.
And then we of course have the big road trip, which you can still get tickets to. It's now down to $99. And it includes the party bus. We got pictures of the party bus for you. Party bus starts at Almost Home.
Yes.
Then it goes to Circus Sports in Waukegan. You can get picked up at either spot, however you want to do it. Then we tailgate once we get to Blue Moon Ballpark in Milwaukee. And then you go into the game together. It includes your ticket. It includes your vibes. It includes the party bus back to Chicago or Waukegan or whatever stop you want to get off on there on the way home. So that is June 29th, $99. Ticket included, party bus included, the beer on the bus included, the beer at the tailgate included, And you know what? I think there might be some giveaways too. But look at that bus.
That's a nice bus.
This isn't like some school bus. Like
no, this isn't one of those pedal pubs where you're going to have to pedal all the way from Kenosha to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
This is an air-conditioned bus.
This is awesome.
Beautiful.
Man. I
This
can't
is
wait.
practically an RV.
Take over Milwaukee.
Hopefully by then, Hopefully by then the Cubs have figured out their closer situation and we can go up and take over Wrigley North. Either way, we're gonna have a good time there, man. This is the first time we've done something like this. I'm really excited about it. Should be a lot of fun. Whether hopefully the Cubs are still in this race by the time we get there. But say something nice about Milwaukee. I do like going to Wrigley North and flooding that place with blue, cubby blue at least,
and peeing on the concourse.
Yeah, that and listen. Someone's got to keep the electricity on at Wrigley North. All right, someone's got to keep the electricity on. Credit to me and everyone else is going to come and us for helping keep the electricity on because their fans ain't going to show up.
You mentioned Morel leading off.
Which, by the way, I'm sorry for yelling a little bit. I'm just you're probably
apologize
right.
to Will.
He's not.
I'm just I'm just very, very bullish on the fact that he is going to be a star player at some point, and I just feel like Corey said, like if you keep seeing the quality of at bats that he's having, you're gonna look at the numbers at the end of the year and be like, he had a really good year. You might argue that he had a bad start to the year, but maybe he has a hot second half. Maybe he was better from June on or something like.
But do you want him? Do you want him leading off tomorrow night?
They won tonight, yes.
And how long do you want that to go until it slows down? I mean, that's kind of the way leadoff has worked for the Cubs the last handful of seasons. Like leadoff man until it doesn't work, and then try to find another one. Now this decision was he wanted to give the most at bats as he could to a guy that's been having good at bats. Mm-hmm. He brings the most slug to the team, so he brings a little, fear or attitude to the top of the lineup. I'm curious how long it will last because we've seen Happ do it successfully for a while this season. We saw Nico do it for a while successfully this season. And now I'll be curious how long this experiment. Tauchman, of course.
But Tauchman and Nico are definitely more of a matchup thing. Like Nico, they would do it only against lefties, except for whenever certain guys were hurt. Then there was a time where Nico was leading off consistently. But to start the year, and then since the roster has gotten healthy, Nico's only been leading off against left-handed pitching, which I'm okay with. But I think Tauchman's going through a little bit of a I don't know what to expect stretch, but at the same time, like, you're getting so much production out of him that no one really expected that I'm not going to complain about it. But you got to adjust to that as well. And it's kind of like when I think about how Craig Counsell's thinking in his head, it's like he was leading off Christian Yelich for multiple years. And Christian Yelich, even in the years when, like, post-MVP, he was still getting on base a ton for them. And now, last year, when he was still there last year, Yelich got the power back a little bit, and he was still getting on base a ton. So, the walk rate doesn't lie, and he's hitting the ball hard. And so, like, that's why I don't hate it. Obviously, you need to see results, but, like, that's why I don't hate it, especially with the K rate being down, as much as Corey said earlier, 10% lower than last year. So that's why I don't hate it. And I think whenever something works, you do it. So that's why I feel the way I feel.
I was gonna say I have something interesting from this game that I wanted to just the stolen bases that we haven't talked about yet.
Was it 6?
They stole 6 bases today.
Yeah. Nico had 2.
Not
1, but 2, and it was after he got a hit.
1.
Like that's a lot of what we saw last year.
Let's see. This season, they actually stole 6 bases about a month, like May 2nd against the Mets. I don't even remember that, but they stole 6 bases in the game. They stolen 3 about a month ago against Pittsburgh, and they haven't stolen more than 2 in a game since like the rest of the season. So, a different showing of aggressiveness than we've seen generally this year from them.
I like it
On the base pass. And I don't know, to put it in historical perspective, that is tied for the most stolen bases in a single game for the Cubs since basically the last 100 years. They had 7 on May 25th, 1924, and haven't stolen more than 6 cents. So a pretty historic in a game.
And no, I don't remember that game.
No, see, I didn't say it. You said it.
No, I wasn't even thinking that. So
You were about to say it. That's why I took the joke out of your mouth.
I wasn't even thinking that. I wasn't even thinking about that joke. It's not a joke. You're just old, But
damn. I don't ever actually say that Luke is old.
Luke is going to storm off this set.
Anyway, no, it's a different, just they haven't – I feel like we haven't seen the same aggressiveness that we felt like we saw from the team last year. I mean, Nico stole 40 bases last year, and it hasn't really seemed to come – I don't know what his number is now, but, like, the aggressiveness overall hasn't seemed to really be there. They are now 11th in stolen bases, so a little – higher than average, a little higher than middle of the pack in baseball right now. They have 53 stolen bases on the year. But as far as we're talking about a lineup that's for weeks struggled to put a bunch of runs on the board, for weeks struggled to get big hits and execute and stuff like that. A little more aggressiveness that may be just in a sense helpful in just getting more runs across the board. Instead of needing a base hit to get a guy in from second. And to get a guy in from second, instead he steals third, and a wild pitch or something, or it's less than 1 out and a ground ball to the other way gets him in, right? Just a little thing to me that's like a team that's just struggling offensively to put more runs on the board. A little more aggressiveness on the base pass, and they did it successfully today. Probably won't always be that successful with it, but just a little more aggressiveness. I'm trying to manufacture runs can be a good thing.
Yeah, trying to shake things up, trying different stuff. You haven't been getting consistent results. As long as Morel doesn't, because the one thing we've seen from moving guys to the leadoff spot is that it sometimes messes with their approach and like vibe and like what they have going on. As long as it doesn't change the way that he's thinking about things. Though he was already headed in that right direction. He was already taking more walks and striking out less. I think the concern sometimes maybe when you move a guy up to the leadoff spot is that they might get a little too patient, which, we've seen Seiya kind of had. He wasn't leading off, but that's been one of the frustrations, I think, with Seiya is that he's been a little too patient. Like he needs to swing more at pitches in the zone. So as long as Morel doesn't switch up what he's doing, because I think what he's doing is really good. But, yeah, as we've talked about, like, Tauchman, you can't rely on him to lead off and play every day. You're asking too much of him. Yeah. Nico is a really good hitter in a lot of ways. I am not really of the belief that he needs the most plate appearances on the team, though.
I agree.
And, I kind of like the way they laid it out tonight. Bush has been one of your better hitters. You put him in the 2-hole, move Seiya to the slugger spot at number 4. He did do that for you. Cody seems pretty comfortable in that 3-hole. That's been primarily where he's been for the Cubs, the last couple of years. I kind of liked it, honestly. And again, it mitigates that you're waiting for those overall results to show on the field more for Christopher Morel, the power to show more, some of those hard hit balls to find grass or find an alley or hit the seats, whatever they might be doing. But in the meantime, he is walking a lot. Let him walk a lot at the top of the lineup. Let Seiya try to hit home runs in the 4th spot. And I'm with Ryan. Try to run a little bit, or you made a lot of outs on the bases. So you do want to pick those battles mindfully because you have been a little sloppy in that regard. But I don't know. I don't know that that's all been on stolen bases. I think a lot of those were bad decisions. Going station to station.
What it felt like, at least.
Be more aggressive. Try to cause a little more chaos, like you see PCA doing at times.
Yeah, like
switch
a PCA
up the lineup.
Gets on. Obviously, he can steal a base. Nico gets on, steals 2 bases. We know he can do that, right? There's other guys. Cody Bellinger stole a base. Right, did he steal a base today? I know Seiya did. Seiya's got sneaky speed. He could steal some bases. They got guys that could do that.
Yeah.
Okay, quiet, Junior. I saw that Edward in here said, and I agree with Edward. He said, "I'm not old. Well-aged."
Well-aged, like a fine wine.
Right. Thank you, Edward. Thank you.
Credit to Edward.
Punks.
I didn't say anything.
I wasn't
Look
even-
at
I
Ryan.
didn't say anything either. I've been Stucky Nation day one.
I wasn't even thinking of that joke. Stucky
Punks.
thought of it himself. I literally just brought that up because I'm like, hey, they haven't stolen more bases than this in over 100 years. That was the only thing I brought it up for. And then Stucky's like, got all angry for no reason.
Here's the thing about Morel. I think old people, not me, other old people, would say, oh, well, there's he's your biggest slugger. How are you ever going to hit a 3-run homer when there's – that has changed, right? That has changed in baseball. I want the guy that's hitting the ball the hardest and has the best chance to give me production. I don't care if it's home runs. I don't care if it's singles, whatever it is. I want that guy to get the most at-bats. So I want to see this experiment continue. I am with Corey, though, however. If I start to see it change the way he's approaching his at-bats, that's a different story because I don't want to mess with that.
I mean,
I do think Happ deserves another shot at it when that time comes.
There is a reason that since Dexter Fowler, who won the World Series in 2016 with the Chicago Cubs as the leadoff hitter.
Yeah, correct.
There is a reason that since that point they have been chasing who is the consistent leadoff hitter. And, now you see Kyle doing it for Philly, but when they tried that at first, Joe Maddon did, it went horribly. It was a disaster. Like, it was the worst Schwarb's ever looked. And, they needed to kind of press through that, and obviously they did not, ultimately.
Except when
famously.
Rizzo Rizzo.
But there's a reason that it is a particular mindset. It's not easy for guys to take that responsibility to start the game. You want to see pitches. You want to make sure that you're making the starting pitcher do some work, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a tough ask, but I think it's worth trying. And I at least appreciate, one of the things that we got on Ross so much about last year was the kind of rigidness and just like, this is what we're doing every day. It's either going to work or the ship's going down. And the ship went down by a game, but it went down. And I appreciate at the very least that Craig is trying. He can't go hit for these guys, but he is trying to move the pieces and say, all right, look, we're scoring 3 runs a game for the last month and a half. We got to try some different stuff. Maybe it's not all going to work, but it's worth trying things out.
At the very least, if Morel doesn't work out as your leadoff, I still like Bush getting up there in the 2-hole with the way that he's hitting right now and the way that the plate approach that he brings and the type of bats that he has, because he too walks a decent amount. Now, obviously, his strikeouts are something that he's going to have to work on as his career moves along, because he's striking out like Christopher Morel strikes out, 32, 33% of his at-bats. But when he does make contact, he's hitting it hard, and he's hitting it in the air. And if he's not hitting it hard or hitting in the air, he's also walking a decent amount too. So I like those two up there for one night at least, and ask me in a week. I would love to see more of this, just because I agree with Corey on, I don't like Nico getting the most at-bats, and I don't like Tauchman getting the most at-bats, except get on certain matchups maybe that might not benefit Morel as much or whoever else you're trying up there. And also when Tauchman's just not, to me, he's not giving you the best plate appearances right now. And again, I'm not complaining about it because he's already been as good as you could have hoped he'd be this year. So I like just trying to figure something out here.
Do any of your Dell metrics or any of these stats you guys look at, do any of them show how bad the umpires are? Before we go, I mean, we sat and watched this game. There was a stretch of 5 minutes where every other call was bad.
Yeah, I'm
on
not
balls
a
or
fan.
strikes.
I'm not a fan of human umpires. They all suck.
Do you follow the umpire auditor on Twitter?
I do not. I don't believe so.
There's the umpire scorecard, but the umpire auditor is it's an account that tweets videos with how much the pitch misses by inches or whatever it is off the plate. Great account. It's a great account, except when I talk to my mom and brother are big. They hate the umpires. They like talking about how bad the umpires are. It's one of those things you got to be careful, because once you start, we all know they're awful. But once you start to look at it more, you start to get even more pissed off about it, because you realize
I expect it from a CB Buckner game. I expect bad calls. Last night I knew I was going to get bad calls with CB Buckner. Tonight, I thought CB Buckner was back there again.
Yeah, Charlie has a good comment here. Seiya Morel got screwed a couple times. Morel's one strikeout was terrible.
They got
because
something
of the
against
second
Seiya.
strike.
It's a little ridiculous.
Marquis on the broadcast put out that one stat.
It's like that last year too.
Well, that one stat it's from 2022 to now, the most pitches outside the zone called strike, or second most in baseball, something like that, depending on what the qualifications was.
This can be my I think I saw a tweet recently. It was like, what's the most boomer thing that you are or whatever. And I think I quote tweeted saying that, like, I wish that we still got actual tickets, like, instead of having to use like the ballpark app for MLB.
I said that when we were at the Friday or the
takeover.
The takeover.
Yeah,
that's right.
I remember. But like, this is another thing too. Like, in some ways, I kind of wish that we couldn't see the strike zone, so I couldn't sit here and complain about the umpires as much. Like when I was a kid, whenever you just turn on WGN or whatever channel you're watching the game on, and they didn't have the white square or whatever, and like MLB is using one that's basically just like it, and so it's just agonizing, man. Especially tonight and early in tonight's game, because it was so inconsistent early in tonight's game. And Charlie's comment, like, that I brought up, like, he's exactly right. Some of those balls are nowhere near the zone, and like, this is not necessarily robot umps we need. It's more of like something that we've talked about before, just like the ball strikes challenge system. Like, it's just it's ridiculous.
I try not to get like too worked up about it,
but it's hard.
Unless it's like a game-altering call or something that happens in like a key spot. But what really does bother me, and say as an example, and Christopher Morel is a particular example, when you have like young, or in Seiya's case, like new to the MLB, new-ish to the MLB hitters, it is so frustrating when their process is good and they get punished for it. Because we all know, like, as human beings. And to be honest with you, it sort of worked in a way, because Seiya got called on that breaking ball off the plate again right after they showed the video from yesterday. The breaking ball he hit for a homer was over the plate, but if I were him, I would have said, well, if he throws that breaking ball again, I got to swing at it because he's going to call it a strike. Well, he did, and he hit it for a homer. So maybe it forced him into swinging. I don't know. But it's what I really care about is you have these young hitters who are doing the right things and they get punished, and then you wonder, okay, well, now are they not going to be as patient because they're trying and they're laying off those marginal like edge pitches and they're getting dinged for it. And so that's where I really get pissed off. I would get rid of them all. I mean, I don't care what system they have in place. They're awful. Get rid of them.
Do the challenge system.
Robot system. I'm not even a challenge system guy. Get rid of them. They're terrible. I don't care how hard it is.
Taking jobs away from the workforce.
Good. Get out.
You're gonna have to fight that fight with the umpires union. You're gonna lead the charge.
Get out. It's a mess. Every night it's an absolute mess. It's one of the sillier things I think in sports, especially because now all of the TV networks have adopted putting the square on, so we all just watch the game knowing they're making the wrong call over and over and over again. It's really stupid.
I will say I
don't think it's a boomer. I don't think it's a boomer take at all.
No, but I have heard Nico Horner say, in defense of the umpires, even though he just got thrown out recently, that the box isn't always right. He doesn't think the box adjusts enough for
probably
the actual strike zone of each player, that it's just kind of in the same spot.
My boomer take is that I wish that the box wasn't there for us to see. That way I don't get irrationally angry all the time.
You wish we were just listening on a transistor radio.
When I was a kid, when I would watch the games in the early 2000s, before they had the box, I found it interesting, at least, just to see managers and stuff get pissed off.
What I meant is you'd find other things to get irrationally angry about.
I'd rather get.
That's what I meant.
But would it be on a daily basis? I don't think so. I am screaming about these umpires every day. They ruin my life for 162 days every summer, and it's largely because that white square is there, and I'm watching it, and I've gotten to the point where, okay, if it's borderline, I can give the guy a break. But when it was as bad as it has been late in last night's game and then today's game in general, it makes you want to drink. Blue Moon, specifically.
Specifically, obviously.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on umpires. They all suck.
Yeah, I don't like them either. Anything else anybody wants to say before we head out? We
need Justin.
We do not have a live show tomorrow because we have the Friday 120 post-game show after the Friday.
But me and Ryan will do the overtime in the Discord after the game.
So tomorrow. if you're a diehard,
tomorrow. Yeah.
Diehard in the Discord, CHGO Cubs overtime in the Discord. So you gotta be a diehard. You gotta be a diehard to get access to that. But we're doing that post-game last game of the Tampa series.
Well, I just want to add, I mean, the Cubs won tonight. Can we get more than 53 likes in the chat here?
No, people love
I don't know.
negativity.
Did we get any thumbs downs? No?
No
Not
thumbs
yet.
down. Well, thanks
That's
for the
good.
no thumbs down.
I'm glad no
few
one
more
thumbs
likes.
down on my little tangent about Morel.
Also,
That's good.
Barb said you look good for your age, Stucky.
Thanks, Barb. And
Because
she
she thought
said
you-
something about 60s.
But you're in your mid-60s, yeah.
What else do I have? I don't.
Just win
Barb,
a
go
series
make,
tomorrow.
Barb, go make
win
the
a
neighbors
series
some
tomorrow.
meatballs.
Shout out Tyson Miller. Shout out Drew Smiley. We got to the 9th inning thanks to them. Yeah, and I'm not pulling myself to believe that anything has changed, but if you win tomorrow with Justin Steele on the mound, play better defense and good base running like you have the last 2 days. That was the one thing I said yesterday, even though they lost that game. The fact they played good defense and they didn't get thrown out on the bases in the first game of this series. Like, if you can do that and not ruin Justin Steele's start because of dumb shit like that, I think you have a chance to win tomorrow.
Well, so here's my ask. The Rays, once again, I think they did tonight as well, throwing a guy with an ERA north of 5. So score some runs. And, pay off Justin Steele's start. He's been really good in the last several starts. Obviously, the first couple coming back from a pretty significant injury. It's fine. He's allowed to do that. He's been very good for you. He's been great the last few starts. I think he's going to be great tomorrow. Score some runs for him. Please stop making him specifically, because I feel like he had to do it a lot last year too. Please stop making these guys have to be perfect. They know they're protecting a 1 or 2 run lead, or it's 0-0 in the 7th inning. Score some runs for your boy Justin Steele. Score some runs off of a pitcher that has an ERA north of 5, and win a series. Come back to Wrigley for 9 games at beautiful historic Wrigley Field. Let's go on a run. Yeah. Whatever we all think of this team, just let's do it right now. Go on a run, play better baseball. Let's win some games.
Your bet chugs.
Also, I won my live bet that I made at the beginning of the show. Credit to me.
Oh, good.
Nice.
It's nice. Cody won a lot of money.
Thank you, Circa.
There you go.
Thank you to everybody that joined today. 4-3 Cubs beat the Rays. Cody Bellinger, the star. Never nervous. Neris locked it down. Heart attack. Hector got it done. Cubs win 4-3. Back at it tomorrow. They'll have that special thing in the Discord. And then with the Friday 120 Club, we'll see you at Murphy's. Until then, thanks for watching and fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.